understanding that you are going to sacrifice. But in the end, you have to make sure the sacrifice was worth it. And that's what it is. So even, look, we all want to be successful, and not everything we do is successful. Sometimes everything we do is not successful, but we continue to try. We have to believe in ourselves and that we have the ability. And it's the energy, it's the love, it's the hunt, it's the passion, it's the opportunity to do better for yourself. You know, for me, and I've told people this all the time, I could teach you a computer, I can teach you software, I can teach you to sell, I could teach you basic marketing 101. You know what I can't teach? Passion.
Allan has started and grown several multi-million-dollar businesses. His mission is to help you do the same. Welcome to the Business Growth Pod, building the future one entrepreneur at a time.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Business Growth Pod. I'm Allan Draper. Really excited about our guest today. Before we get into it, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, whatever platform you listen to this podcast on. Make sure that you're subscribed so that you're notified when new episodes are released. Also, do me a favor and leave me a review and let me know what you think. Let me know what types of guests you're looking for and how we can help you with your businesses. Today, I'm excited to welcome Glenn Gardone. Glenn is an entrepreneur who has successfully sold multiple companies in the food and beverage industry over the past 30 years. And currently, he's the USA director at RED Chocolate. We're going to get into that a little bit. Welcome to the show, Glenn. We're glad to have you.
Well, Allan, thank you for having me. Big fan. Enjoy all the podcasts, enjoy the different guests you've had. And hopefully my goal here is to add some benefits to your listeners and be able to help them along their journey as I've had help throughout my journey.
Awesome. So let's talk about your journey a little bit. Tell me about kind of your early career and how you kind of got into business and entrepreneurship. So
I got into entrepreneurship by mistake. It wasn't like something I set out to do. You know, I was in corporate America, employee number XXXXX, worked with some amazing companies, you know, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Kellogg, great relationships, amazing training. And then I actually had the opportunity. Somebody came to me while I was in corporate America and said, "Hey, I've got this great idea. I don't know how to get it done. And so can you help me?" So, you know, it had nothing to do with, you know, the organization I was working with. It was actually a startup that was a children's breakfast on the go. And I thought it was a pretty good idea. And so I helped her out and, you know, we built a business plan together and told her some of the pitfalls, such as, you know, how do you grow a business profitably? How do you understand the relationships? Because, you know, whenever you're an entrepreneur, the biggest problem that I find is, and I had the same problem, was you don't know what you don't know. And that's really been my journey throughout my career, is understanding what I don't know and then learning from people that do. Because if you go in thinking that you know everything, life's going to hit you hard and business is going to hit you even harder. Never mind the fact, you know, that you're going to spend a whole bunch of weekends when people are out having fun and you're working. But you know, we'll talk about that in a minute. So I helped her out with her business model to show her some of the partnerships, things that I would look to, where it should be, you know, within retail. So the consumers understand what they're trying to find, since it was something that nobody had really done before. And so, you know, put her in a position where she was ready to rock and roll. It was herself and her business partner. And I left her office and I was headed home to see my wife, and got a call about a half an hour later from her saying, "We found the perfect number 3. I said, "Really? Who's that?" I said, "Do I know him?" She said, "Yeah, it's you." And I started laughing. I said, "Look," I said, "I appreciate it. That's really nice. You can't afford me." And she said, "Oh, you're right. I can't afford you. You're going to make almost no money. You're going to feel like you're 18 years old again. And you're going to work 3 times as hard as you ever have, but you're going to get the chance to grow something." And I went, wow, that's interesting. And I never really thought about that opportunity before. You know, I had friends that had, you know, dabbled in it, so to speak. For myself, kids, family, responsibility, a little nervous about it. And so I actually called my partner, my best friend, my wife. And I was telling her about the situation. And she said, "So what do you think? You think it's good?" I said, "I think it's a great idea." She said, "Glenn, let's be honest. You're going to work 100 hours a week to make sure it's successful. Because honestly, as an entrepreneur, whatever business you're in, You have to work. You have to work harder. You have to work faster. And you're always trying to work smarter because there's only so many hours in a day. And at some point, exhaustion kicks in. So, she said to me, look, take a chance. And I said, all right, you know what? I'm willing to take a chance. And I went back and became employee number 3. And I remember one story. It's funny. We had gotten an assistant for the 3 of us to help us out with paperwork and those kind of things. And I was in the office and I said, we've got a stapler. And she looked at me and said, as soon as you go to Staples and buy us one, we're going to have a stapler. I mean, that's what it was like. And I said, okay, let's put everything we need on paper and I'm going to take a ride and go get staplers and everything else. And I went from, all these employees to do things, 3 people to do one job kind of thing to, okay, now it's on your shoulders. And really, as an entrepreneur, that's what it is. It's on your shoulders. If you think about what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to own the business, you very rarely get to enjoy the success. You get to revel in it. You get to, say, oh, okay, great, it worked. But ultimately, everything that's going to fall on your desk, especially as you continue to grow and you get the employees, everything that falls in your desk are the problems. Because you want your team to be successful. You want them to do what you had hired them to do. But ultimately, if they come to you, that means, again, going back to hiring people that know more than you. Those people are walking in and saying, I do know more than you, but I'm not sure what to do here. And that's where it becomes, that little bead of sweat that drips down your forehead. And that's where it truly means to be the entrepreneur, because every decision you make has an effect on the business. So from that, we actually grew that business to about 70 million in about 18 months, highly successful, and got a chance to sit down with the folks that were buying us. And a question came up, and it was an interesting question. They said, gentlemen said to me, so Glenn, what are you going to do now? I started laughing. I said, I didn't think I'd be out of a job in 18 months. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And he looked at me and he said, well, just so you know, if you stay in private equity, the whole idea is to get yourself out of a job as quick as possible. And so from that point on, it really is a mindset mentality change. And when I talk to folks that are thinking about going into business, there's so many books and all these different things that you can read about. Until you're thrown into the mix and you start to live that, there's nothing that's really going to prepare you fully. Life is going to prepare you fully. Business is going to prepare you fully. Here at RED, we've had massive, remember, I've been doing this for 30 years. So you think at this point, pretty good at it. And I've never been in a global shutdown in my entire life. So, you sit there and you could, sit in a corner and suck your thumb in a fetal position, or you could say, you know what, team? Okay, we've got some really big challenges now. How are we going to face these challenges? What are we going to do about it? And that's what I enjoy really is the continued growth, because I still try and grow every day. I'll never sit here and tell you I'm the smartest guy at the table. I just try to understand. I try to always look a couple of steps ahead. The way I've explained it to the folks that lead the different teams for me, it's their role. If you think about it, they're laying the seed, so to speak, because they're a month, 3, 5 months ahead of where their team is. And the team could use that seed to build what's necessary. It's my job to make sure that they have the seed that is necessary, because I need to be looking 12 months out, and nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody understands. If we launched RED here in the US 3 years ago this month, and if you think back 3 years ago this month, that was 5 months before a global pandemic. So, but it's been an exciting ride. So I would tell you that since then, I've had the opportunity to build some amazing companies and partner with some awesome people. And, it's been a group effort. A lot of the folks that work with me have been with me for quite some time through several of the organizations. But ultimately, it's putting the right people in place, giving them the opportunity. And even as a startup, even if it's yourself, it's still important to put yourself in the right place, because the people are actually you. It's you. And so you've got to decide. And I've heard the stories about, do your passion. Look, I don't know if you should do your passion or not. I don't know. I don't know what your passion is. Your passion may be great for you, but nobody else cares. So what you want to do is you want to be able to fulfill a need. And if it does fulfill a need, you've got to make sure that your message is focused on fulfilling that need, because you may think it's a great idea, but if you don't tell others, they don't get the opportunity to think it's a great idea. And so instead of trying to be fun or cute or differentiated. You know what? Tell your story. And if people believe in your story, they want to go on the journey with you.
I like that idea. I like that you mentioned that, hey, I'm going to take this huge pay cut. It's like going to be like I'm 18 again. I'm going to work more hours, but I'm going to get a chance to build something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That resonates with entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And I think that's really the difference. A lot of people call entrepreneurs crazy, and it may be a little bit of truth to that. I had a mentor when I actually decided to go into that, and he had been very successful, ran a couple of very large companies, and he was at the end of his career. And so I actually went out to see him, and, we had talked and we had been friendly, and I had really never thought of him in that role. It was just, he was a smart guy. He had been through a lot, and he had some great ideas about just life in general. And so when we sat down, he looked at me, he said, Glenn, remember one thing, the road is paved with intellectual derelicts. That stuck with me. And you're talking, that was 17 years ago. And I still remember that conversation. And from that, we became very close. And he impressed upon me just the importance of understanding that you are going to sacrifice. But in the end, you have to make sure the sacrifice was worth it. And that's what it is. So look, we all want to be successful, and not everything we do is successful. Sometimes everything we do is not successful, but we continue to try. We have to believe in ourselves and that we have the ability. And it's the energy, it's the love, it's the hunt, it's the passion, it's the opportunity to do better for yourself. For me, and I've told people this all the time, I could teach you a computer, I can teach you software, I could teach you to sell, I could teach you basic marketing 101. You know what I can't teach? Passion. Either got it or you don't. And if you don't have that passion and you don't give yourself a test before you jump, I would tell you, give up the next 3 weeks of your weekends doing something you don't want to do. And I'm not talking about, I'm going to cut the grass 3 weekends in a row. That's what it is. I'm talking about literally doing something you don't want to do. And then at the end of those 3 weeks, look back and go, you know what? It wasn't that bad, or man, I'm glad that's over. Because if the answer is, man, I'm glad that's over, think twice about stepping in and becoming an entrepreneur you think you want to be, because it's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of sacrifice.
I think that's right. I think, I talk a lot, Glenn, about this idea that the entrepreneur, they don't need to know everything that's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Right.
They need to understand their motivation. They need to understand their why enough to retain some of that early motivation, because there's a lot of excitement that leads up to starting a business. It's a lot like a new relationship where there's all this excitement. It's somebody new, it's exciting, it's different. And then it's work. Then it's, hey, I'm going to try again tomorrow. And I think for me, understanding my why, because business is a lot of ups and downs. It's a lot of unfulfilled expectations. It is, because as entrepreneurs, our heads are in the clouds, and they kind of have to be. I always say that I'm really glad that I was naive about my first business, because if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't have started it. Even though I've had some great success, it's this idea that it takes a lot of work, and it takes more work than you're expecting. But if you really hone in on the why, and money's never a great motivator. It's just not.
No, myself personally, in my career, I made one move because of money. I've told people, and even my boys, I've told them, unless it is truly life-changing, money, it's the worst thing to do. Because for me, it was the worst move in my career when I did it. And after doing it, and almost immediately, I knew, I made the wrong decision here for money. Because in the end, I don't care how much money you're making. If you're miserable, I tell my team all the time, my goal as the leader, as the entrepreneur, is not only for myself, but for them to go to sleep on a Sunday excited that Monday's coming. Because there's nothing worse than sitting there on a Sunday bummed out because Monday's coming and you're going back to work. And that's the last thing you want to do. So you're correct in saying that, you're going to work hard. You're going to work harder than almost everybody around you. It's going to happen. You're going to miss events. You're going to. But if you remember the why you're doing it, and you're absolutely right, you could build the most amazing 5-year plan. But remember one thing, your 5-year plan is based on today. I will tell you what's happening today probably won't be happening a year from now. And the fact is, if it is, I'd hope that you'd be a year smarter and a year more seasoned. And therefore, you'll look at the next, quote unquote, 4 years left of that plan and go, whoa, instead of continuing down this road, I should take a left here and I should add this piece. And the fact is, life is going to have you taking those left and rights. We talk about success. Think about it this way. And baseball, big right now going into the World Series. If you are a 4 for 10 hitter, you're one of the greatest hitters in baseball. Start your business and be 4 for 10 in success. You'll be closed in 9 months. And you know what? You're going to be constantly faced with, 90-mile-an-hour fastballs coming at you in business. So be ready for it. And it's fun. I don't mean to scare people and put fear into them. I just want them to go in eyes wide open because it is important. Because you're right. If you go in with the attitude, I know everything, you're going to be sadly mistaken. And if you go in with the attitude of, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to do what it needs to be done, you're going to be tested on that. You're going to be. And that's where you have to remember the why. Why are you doing it? Why are you working till 11 o'clock?
I think that's a great point. And early entrepreneurs, they're really focused on the success and the glory of it all. And I get that. And I definitely am too. I enjoy those moments. We bring on a big client. We, hire a really good employee. We have a great partnership that results or something like that. But in order to help with the ups and downs, one thing that I've learned is that I enjoy some of the mistakes. I try to find, and that might be a little bit of an overstatement, but I try to find something good. And I try to put the ball in my court so that if a mistake is made, I don't blame others. Because if I do that, then I'm saying others have control over my life. And as an entrepreneur, that's the last thing that you want.
That's right.
And I think if you have this perspective of, hey, I'm going in there to mix some things up, to make some mistakes and to learn some things, then if there's a mistake that happens, you lose some money, you lose an employee, whatever it is, you take that as a learning opportunity, and then you're basically doubling down and reinvesting in yourself. I have a business right now that I invested in a couple of years ago, but I took the majority ownership just at the beginning of this year. And right now, to be honest, we're losing money hand over fist. And I talked to the operator of the business that's running it just last week. And I said, don't worry so much in this phase about that bottom line. Don't focus on that right now, because what you don't see between the top and the bottom line is everything that we're learning. And if you have that perspective with a business, then you're able to sustain yourself a little bit when the hard times come, because you know that it's not for naught. There is some value that you're getting, even though you can't see it on a financial statement.
You're absolutely right. I call it limited risk. You're going to have to take risks, as you said. You just, with the knowledge you have and understanding of business, you can limit the amount of risk associated with a specific item. If you're going to try and swing for the fences, so to speak, again, another baseball analogy, then you need to understand the risk associated with it. And then you have to weigh that risk versus, what the outcome is. I'll give you an example. I had somebody on my team come in and talk about that they want to do a test campaign on marketing. And they walked me through it. And I said, so what does it mean if you're successful? And they said, well, what do you mean? It means, I've hit X, Y, and Z. I said, yeah, but what does that mean? How do we grow the business with that? You've spent this time, never mind the funding. Great. You spent $1 and made $1.05. How do we grow it from there? Do we just be happy with $1.05? And if we don't, what is our downside? Our downside is zero. So I can either make a nickel or I can lose the $1, but there's no way to replicate this. You have to think about, again, the replication. Like I tell people, it doesn't happen often where you can just hit it out of the park constantly. So, remember, 4 singles make a run. So hitting 4 singles is still okay because you still got 1 run on the board versus hitting one out of the park. You're right. As entrepreneurs, we're always trying to look for that big opportunity, that big win. It's what drives us. Most entrepreneurs are, and I say this, and it's not as some people may think, we are ego driven, not in like we've got a big head and we think we're great. It's just that that's what excites us. It's the opportunity for the takedown, so to speak, for the opportunity for the success. And so that's what, I always tell folks when I talk to them, look, it's okay to have that. Just make sure that you've got a governor on it, because what's going to happen is you're going to take risks that are not good for the business. And again, we could talk about when is over investing right in a business, because you're right. A lot of businesses in the very beginning, you are going to burn cash. And the fact is, a lot of entrepreneurs, again, going back to a story, if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting your business, everybody loves Friday, I was told. And I was told this by, again, another mentor of mine. Everybody loves Friday. You know why, Glenn? I said, the weekend? They said, no, that's because it's payday. The one day you hate? Friday. You're going to enjoy Tuesday, maybe a Wednesday. In other words, you're going to get paid when there's money left over. And so that's, again, the idea behind an entrepreneur. You're going to be paying out people, and you're going to sit down and let's say you rent a storefront. Your landlord's going to make money every single month. And guess what? That month, that landlord may have made more money than you, and you spent 100 hours a week at it. Again, going back to the why. Why am I doing this? Is there a reason to do it? So I agree with what you're saying. And I think that you have to look at a business and what is the future opportunity? And what you're doing today, how does that benefit the why? Yeah. How does that benefit month 13 through 24 and so on and so forth?
Yep, exactly. Well, Glenn, I want to hear a little bit about RED. I want to hear about your role there and what you guys are trying to accomplish, and a little about the food and beverage industry. I'd like to get your thoughts on where you think it's headed and where the opportunities are.
Let's start with the food and beverage, and then we'll talk right afterwards. So again, as you said, I've been in the food and beverage industry over 3 decades. And, I was talking to somebody and they asked me, they said, Glenn, so what's changed with the consumer? And I said, really? In 30 years, nothing's changed with the consumer. When a consumer purchases something, that quote unquote transaction, they want to know their value. Okay. And that could be the value that they feel they are to the business. That could be the value from a price perspective. That could be the value from a time perspective. In other words, the value is different for every consumer, and it always has been. So if it's a product on a store shelf, it could be the value that that product brings to that family or that person that purchased it. What has changed is the way that we deliver the message. The days of walking into a grocery store and perusing the aisles and seeing what's new, and whether it be chocolate, whether it be hot sauce, those days are long gone. People are going in. I mean, you could look at everything from delivery services to curbside pickup. There's a lot of people not going into the store, and those that do go in the store go in with a purpose. And it's interesting because there are a lot of great retailers out there that went up against some major behemoths, like Walmart or so, and were successful. And they did it based on the shopping experience. They made their experience going into the store worthwhile, and consumers accepted it. And so the food and beverage industry changes within the technicality, or the technical aspects of it, I should say. The ways that we have to be able to understand how to deliver the message to the consumer, the message itself and how it can be delivered to the consumer. Long time ago, I was with Kellogg, and I launched one of the products out there called Nutri-Grain, and everybody knows Nutri-Grain now. And so I remember going in, and we actually was focused on teens, and we went into a high school. And someday I'll tell you about that flight where my plane got hit by lightning, but that was a whole different story. So we go in and we actually had an interview. Now, of course, they don't know who we're with. And we were, talking to them about how they like to eat. And they were saying, I like healthy, and, I like this. And it was always about healthy options, which, okay, you've read it in magazines. People talk about it all the time. We then put them on a bus, and we gave them each $10 and said, buy whatever it is you'd like. And when you come back, you're going to tell us why you bought it. And, you see somebody walk up and they had a frozen pizza. You see somebody walk up and they had ice cream bars. And I remember asking, as a young fella, I said, in your notes, you talked about healthy eating. Pepperoni frozen pizza doesn't seem like it's healthy. He goes, that's what my parents tell me I'm supposed to say. This is what I really like. And so, again, understanding the message on who you're trying to go towards is very important. And so, I talked about growth earlier on, and really that's where my growth has been and continues to be, is just being able to drive the message and doing it, again, limited risk, but as much reward as I can find from it. And working with the different vendor partners out there and understanding what options they have and what we can get accomplished. Because I think, again, not being the smartest person at the table, I like to bring people around the table, whether they're internal or they're external, and talking to them, whether it be the different trade shows that you get a chance to talk to, or just asking people, whether you're an e-commerce site with a simple, piece of paper that goes in each box and says, how are we doing? What can we do better? It's free. The piece of paper is a nickel. The information you can get back would be invaluable. And so, those are the different pieces that we work on every day here, and we continue. RED Chocolate, it's funny, RED Chocolate, I actually, I had the opportunity to travel into Europe quite a bit, and I saw RED Chocolate often in many spots. And so picked up the brand, liked the brand, knew the brand. I was with another company at the time. We sold that company to a larger CPG company. And honestly, at that point, I didn't know if I still had the fire. I didn't know. I'd been done it 5 times. I'd been in that world. And, very simply in that world, you're moving, and you're moving a lot. And it's an exhausting game. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I actually got a phone call from the folks at RED. And they said, your name's popped up a few times. We're thinking of coming to the U.S. Could you meet with us? And so I actually drove out to New York. We met in New York. And I spent 4 hours with the group, with the ownership group. We're owned by 2 families. And I spent 3.5 of that 4 hours telling them not to come to the U.S. I said, the U.S. is going to bankrupt you. If you don't have the person that you need, and again, not interviewing for it, just wanted to tell them how I felt about it. And I told them the pitfalls. And, after about 3.5 hours of why they shouldn't come here and how they had an amazing European business and they really should be happy with it. My soon-to-be boss, who I didn't know she was going to be my boss, said, are you done? I said, yeah, I'm done. She said, so when do you want to come? And I laughed. I said, you're either crazy or you really understand what's going to happen here. And either way, this could be a little fun. And so, like I said, we've been in market for 3 years now here in the U.S. And we launched in the UK. I actually handle the UK too. And we're in the UK. We launched there about 4 months ago. But, started with a single chain, doing charades, explaining who RED is and what we do. And, we are a European crafted chocolate. We're non-GMO. We're, the whole idea is that we're no sugar added. People call us a healthy chocolate. I hate that term. There's no such thing as healthy chocolate. I call it smart indulgence. We're pleasure without the guilt. That's the whole idea behind it. And so, again, you don't never overpromise, because the worst thing you could do in business is overpromise. And we all want to. And not because we think we're overpromising. It's because we want to do it for you. We want to be successful. So what I tell people all the time is, look, ratchet it back and tell people, look, I'm going to do the best I possibly can for you. And I'm going to give you everything I can to limit your risk, but also to help me, because I have to be a healthy company too. So we're going to work on this together. And again, whether it's e-commerce and you're working with, some of the big guys, whether it's a storefront, whatever it is, the whole idea is that your organization has to remain healthy too. And sometimes you have to say no. And you and I both know that's probably one of the toughest things that come out of our mouths is, no, I can't do it. Yeah. But the sooner you learn that why you're saying that no, I think the better off you'll be as an entrepreneur, because everything can't be a yes. It can't be. And so, we've had an amazing run here for 3 years. We're in about 15,000 store doors across the U.S. And we've got a great partnership with the Home Shopping Network. The #1 chocolate sold on Home Shopping Network. We get to be on TV about every 5 weeks there. And really, Allan, it's been a wonderful journey, but it's been surrounded by some amazing people. And like you said, your operator who's living it every day, they want to be successful, not only for the company, not only for themselves, but they want to be successful for you. And I think that's an amazing, amazing way to be in life is, be successful for yourself, whatever success means for you. I say it all the time. Success may mean something different, completely different than it means for you. You decide. Again, back to the why. I hate to beat that dead horse, but the fact is, the why is, what does success mean? And so that if you can be successful and surround yourself with some good people, and these people don't have to be on your payroll, because, most people want to see you successful. They want to see you succeed in business, especially other people that have had the chance to do it. I never want to see anybody fail. I don't want to see one of my competitors fail because I know what that feels like. We've all failed. And you know what? Life's too damn short, man. And we can help each other. And there's plenty of room for everybody. There's plenty of room for great things. Nobody ever said, sorry, we're all full. We don't need any more great things.
Agreed. 100%. Well, this is amazing, Glenn. You have a very cool story, very unique background. We appreciate you joining us today. How can people reach out to you if they have a question about the episode, some of the things you talked about, or RED in general?
You know what? You can reach out to us multiple ways. For myself, you can find me on LinkedIn, Glenn Gardone, very easy to find. I'm open. It's not like you got to, know a secret password. Connect with me. If I can help you in any way, I'll help you. If it's something I can do or something that maybe somebody in my group can help you with, we're going to help you. We want to see you successful. You can always find us on red-chocolate.com. You can reach me there, picture on there. If you send an email, the group is going to get it to me too. So even if you send it to somebody else, everybody knows we're one big family here. We truly are. We've got a couple hundred employees and, everybody respects each other and everybody says, hey, I got this. It's supposed to go to you. So you can do that. You can call us at 833-446-3854. So there's plenty of ways, man. If I can help, feel free to give me a holler. I'm here for you.
Appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your story and good luck in the future.
Thank you, Allan. Thank you again. Big fan, brother. You're doing a great job.
Appreciate that.
If you have enjoyed today's podcast, please leave us a rating. And for daily inspiration and business tips, follow Allan on Instagram. Until next time, remember, we build the future one entrepreneur at a time.